Welcome to the 120th episode of the Nerdom and Other Nonsense anime podcast. Today, we're covering shows that aired during week 4 of the winter 2020 season. As always, we include timestamps and description of the YouTube video and the podcast feed. If you only want to hear about one or two specific shows, since we will spoil everything that happens. My name is Bcom, and that mad dash and all-nighters they pull in Eizouken is like every one of my final exams in college. Also with me are Kat and Leo.
Hey.
Woo. If I could have fit under my desk in college, I would have slept under it sometimes, for sure. Oh,
yeah,
nice
I mean, those desks are small. I don't know. I mean, I guess Japanese people are small. I don't fucking know. I know none of the people in my class were fitting under their desks. Let's put it that way.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think I fell asleep in the library a couple times. That definitely happened, but that was not under a desk or a table or anything.
It was just like on the carpet. I've done that before.
Yeah.
Slept in the library
just, like,
on the carpet.
Slumped over. Yeah, just, ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should get into some nonsense.
Yes.
I watched a really cool anime movie. A friend had made a contract with me to watch this a while ago, and I totally hadn't because I've been so busy, but I finally got to it. It's called Memories. It's like a 3-part movie from 1995, and each of the parts is animated or was directed by a different person, which is kind of cool. And they're not really related in any way, but they are all just really cool ideas that are amazingly well animated. I think
Are they all in the same universe or separate universes?
I would say separate universes, because especially the third part, which is called Cannon Fodder, is in a completely different art style from the other two parts of it. So it's just a kind of experimental project. And the first and second parts are so different. They're each 40 minutes long. The first part is called Magnetic Rose, and it's about these garbage collectors in space that get a distress call, and they find this crazy space station, and they send a couple guys in to check out what's there, and it just gets really creepy, but it's also just freaking gorgeous the whole time. But they discover something that exists inside the station, and it also kind of makes them reflect on their own lives in a really interesting way. It's really cool. It feels like it could be a sci-fi movie right now, and it would still be interesting.
I've heard a lot of really good things about Magnetic Rose, I'll have to say.
Yeah. The second part is so goofy, though. It's called Stink Bomb, and it's about this guy who takes a pill he wasn't supposed to take it. He came into work at a chemical company with a fever, or pharmaceutical company, and his coworker's oh, the boss just got in this new fever medication. It's a new sample. You should go check it out. And he accidentally takes a different pill from the one he was supposed to take, and it turns him into basically a bioweapon that kills everything around him because he smells so bad.
Interesting.
It's kind of goofy, but it's also so well animated because they start sending the entire Air Force and Army and Navy at him, and there's all these jet planes and helicopters firing missiles at him, and somehow he just won't die. It's hilarious and kind of great.
Jesus,
yeah, it's pretty awesome. You would love it, Leo, if you ever have a chance to see it. And the last part is kind of just this society that is set where everybody grows up learning to be in the military, which in this country means to fire cannons. And it's a whole allegory for anti-authoritarianism and anti-war, because the adults kind of know that there might not even be an enemy that they're shooting these cannonballs at, but they teach their children that they have to do it anyway, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's only 20 minutes long. It's the shortest part, but it was still pretty good.
It's why do we shoot the cannons, Mommy? Don't ask questions. just fucking do it.
And beyond that, I think all the music, it was all composed by Yoko Kanno. And so it was obviously very good.
Of course.
Yeah, no, that was crazy. That was a really good movie.
Has he ever made something that's not, or she made something that's not good? Yeah.
I don't think so. I think all of her stuff is at least of a certain level of quality that I wouldn't call any of it bad, at least anyway.
Yeah, because I don't think she's ever just made something that people are eh. I don't like
No.
it. Like most of the time, it's someone's favorite, song or something.
Yeah, she's super interesting. She does like a super wide range of types of music, which is, I think, what makes her even more impressive. So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
What about you guys?
I bought No Man's Sky like 2 hours ago. After Chibi Rob brought it up in the chat, and it was like marked like 60% off on the Xbox store. So I was like, cool. And I'd heard great things about it had a shitty launch, but then they've done so many updates as like really, it's like a really, really good game now. Mm-hmm. And I played about an hour and a half and I'm enjoying it. And I can see why people can probably get addicted to it. Like I could see myself sitting down to play this over a weekend, and the next thing I know, it's like Sunday at like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I need to go to bed. What happened to my fucking weekend?
Nice.
So is it like any easier to like keep track of your storage and your inventory, and just like is the beginning of the game any easier now than it used to be?
I didn't struggle with any of that stuff. It wasn't like I don't know how many more materials there are. Like it's kind of a lot right now, but it's not bad enough you won't forget. And it's like it's pretty good about holding your hand like this and this will make this, and you're like, oh, that's right, it's right there on the screen for you every time.
Okay.
So yeah, and I think piloting the spaceship's really super fun, and I would love to play that game in VR.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool for sure.
Yeah, like on the first planet, when I'm like leaving and going up into the stars, like my heart was like up in my throat. I was like, this is fucking crazy. I was like, this on VR would just like, it'd be insanity.
Yeah, I think that transition from the planet to space in like the first trailer they ever put out, like sold so many copies of that game alone.
Yeah.
So it's just very cool.
I just, like I said, I'm just an hour and a half in, and I can definitely recommend it at the moment. But because it's just like really big, like you'll go around, you collect resources, you'll build up your base, you'll search areas, you'll like scan plants and animals and make sure the animals are docile and they're not going to be aggressive and fucking try to kill you. Yeah, and like I said, I guess like there's a whole bunch of like ships and stuff, and like that's like some of the funnest parts, like making a nice collection. And like one of their biggest things, their DLC just came out a couple days ago, and they now have living ships, and they looked pretty cool. And that's what Chibi Rob started playing, and he's like, I gotta get a living ship. But nice. That's me. What about you, Kat?
So this time of the year is the time people have Mardi Gras parties. So like, I feel like all my last story was about partying. But like
all your stories are about drinking and partying.
I know, but next week I won't be. So like it's not like it's just at this time of year we have a lot of Mardi Gras parties. So that took up most of my weekend. It was interesting. There was a point at like 3 a.m. where my friend poured me what was probably a triple shot of Fireball, and that was a mistake. And
Cat, stop tapping your desk.
Sorry. And
we're gonna duct tape our hands together when we record.
I know. But yeah, like it was a mistake, and I had to go to the bathroom, and I like knew. I was like, I should throw up. Think of gross things. Think of disgusting things. Like, have you ever done that at a party, Leo?
Yeah, I think about Interspecies Reviewers all the time. Yeah.
And I was just sitting there like, think of disgusting things. Come on, do it. And like my friend kept coming in and being like, are you okay? And I'm like, stop. You're making it harder.
You're distracting me.
So long story short, I, did end up doing that. Then I woke up and I had a terrible hangover. And I was like, you could have saved me if you just left me alone.
Fireball's pretty good, but it, for whatever reason, seems to have a tendency to be more headache-inducing hangovers than like other whiskey. I don't know why.
It must be always gives me a terrible hangover. I'm like, it's tasted good, it's going down, but it's going to be terrible in the morning. Yeah. There's a reason I don't buy it anymore.
All right, let's talk about some anime.
All right. Leading off, we've got Chihayafuru 3, episode 16, titled Takes Me Away in Haste. So, after Suo beat Chihaya in their practice match together, Taichi kind of bribes Suo with a box of manju to play him next. And he also asks Suo why he told Chihaya that she can't become queen, and Suo just responds to him that, when I see somebody who's straight as an arrow, I like to try to bend them, which seems like Cat's philosophy of life.
Okay.
Taichi tells him, don't try to bend somebody who like didn't bend to you in the match. And he, Suo doesn't really listen to that though. And so to prove his point, kind of, Taichi plays Suo and surprisingly does not commit a single fault against him, which hasn't happened for a long time, as other people tell him. He still loses, though, by like the normal 14 cards, but he forces Suo to take all 25 of the cards the normal way instead of, giving some up to him. And Suo tells him to give Dr. Harada his regards, but like never to come back again because he's kind of pissed off. As Taichi and Chihaya are leaving, Taichi pretends he forgot something. He runs back and he catches Suo. And he asks, can we review our match like we would like in shogi or something? And Suo is like, no, I hate you. Why would I do that? And you should go home with your stupid girlfriend. And Taichi's like, I was lying about the girlfriend thing. And Suo's like, my brother. He like grabs him and he's like, yes, Chihaya's available. So on the train ride home, Chihaya hears like the OP music playing through some dude's headphones standing next to her, which I thought was kind of funny. But I did like the way the music became more distorted as she started having thoughts about Suo telling her that she'll never become queen. And she also thinks about how she'll never use headphones because her hearing is kind of everything to her with this sport. But instead of going straight home, she heads right over to see Dr. Harada and tells him that she thinks she's found a weakness in the master, Suo. And she tells Harada, she doesn't tell the audience, and Harada kind of considers and says, don't let anyone else know. I want to be the only one who benefits from this right now. So yeah, we get a brief sequence where Shinobu, the queen, is getting guidance about her future at school. And the counselor's basically like, you can't be queen of Karuta forever, so maybe start thinking about a career. And it seems like all of her classmates are kind of little rich girls, and her family doesn't have all that much money. And so she's kind of worried about her future a little bit. She's also been feeling really rusty ever since she faced Arata, and she's worried about like retaining her title of queen against Inokuma in this match. We find out later that Suo and Taichi talked on their way home from like the match, and Suo actually sounded a bit like he was repeating Leo, saying like, dude, Karata's really simple. There's like 4 outcomes. You take cards, your opponent takes cards, or you make mistakes, or your opponent makes a mistake. And I kind of laughed at that because I was like, oh yeah, that's Leo talking about Karata. And so Suo tells Taichi that his match where he made 0 faults against him actually freaked him out because his whole style is to force other people to make mistakes, and Taichi didn't make a mistake. And Taichi thinks that style sounds kind of appealing. Maybe he's going to go for that. There's a pretty cute scene after that where all the gang go over to Tsukuba's house, and like Chihaya dresses up as Santa Claus and gives his little brothers Karuta gifts, and it's kind of cute. And Tsukuba tears up because like he loves his little brothers and he really appreciates them doing nice things for them. And yeah, there was like a brief exchange between Tsutomu and Chihaya where he realizes how much nicer it is having friends this Christmas than like last time where he like barely had any and stuff. So that was kind of nice for him. He also gets Chihaya thinking about how she wishes Arata was there, and she gets everyone to commit to a day trip to see the Master and Queen matches. So yeah, that she's looking forward to seeing him again. Poor Taichi. In contrast, on Christmas, Shinobu is like practicing Karuta like very intensely on her own, and she's in this reception room, like this special room in her grandmother's house that's for like greeting other people and stuff, and for like events. And has really nice tatami mats, and so she's smacking the mats in this room, and her mom is kind of yelling at her for doing this. And her grandmother comes in and is just like, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm trying to practice reaching cards that are far away from me because I've been struggling with it. But I'm trying to, get them in like the shortest distance. And so her grandmother just comes in with a fucking Sharpie marker and draws a line on the really nice tatami mat. Because she's like, oh, we're going to replace him anyway soon. But it just shows you like how much she cares about her grandma or her granddaughter's like pursuit of Karuta, and how Shinobu's mom is a little out of touch. Her grandmother cares about it more. And there was a really interesting thing in that scene, because two of the cards that Shinobu is playing around with are these two cards that are princesses on platforms. And these are two special cards out of the 200 poems, or the 100 poems in Karata. They're the only two that were written by princesses, like noble women at the time who wrote these poems. And they very much resemble Shinobu and the other queen challenger, Inokuma. Like, one of the cards, number 2, has the line Harusu Gite, which starts with the beginning of Haruka's name. It's been associated with her before. And card number 89 features the line Shinobu Kotono, which obviously sounds like Shinobu's name. We all know that, like, the cards that sound like people's names are always linked with them in these shows. So I just liked the little extra depth of symbolism there, like, through the cards, which was pretty cool. Finally, we move on. It's the first day of the Master and Queen tournament at Omi Jingu Shrine. And Chihaya is anticipating seeing Arata and calls him to see where he is. And it turns out he's got a fever. And so he's just going to watch the whole thing online, apparently. And Tsutomu makes a point about how, like, even though they're not broadcasting this on TV this year, they've done this with other sports recently. And the stream has actually been getting more viewers than the TV broadcast, which I thought was pretty realistic to real life.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. When you think about, like, Twitch and stuff and, like, YouTube, like, there's plenty of people that don't have TV anymore, like, or don't have cable.
They're not watching. I mean, I've not had cable in my whole adult life, so.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you probably could reach more people that way, potentially. Especially if you're not on, like, a main network like CBS or NBC or ABC, whatever, or whatever the equivalent is in Japan. So, and so Chihaya is also a little grateful that Arata is not going to be there, because she is just tingling even calling him on the phone right now after his confession. And if he was there, she's like, my whole body might catch on fire. So yeah, the episode leaves off right at the beginning of the Master and Queen matches, which is pretty hype. Excited to see those and the outcome.
Awesome. Exciting. And, like, I feel like every time you do that, like, we both just sleep and wait for you to finish.
Yeah, well, I try to bring things up now that, like, would be interesting to you guys, but, like, I wasn't sure in this episode anything that I could bring up, because it was so focused on just setting up the next episodes, basically. Like, there was the Chihaya and Suo stuff, but, like, after that, it was all like, we're gonna set up this Master and Queen match. So
I guess.
Yeah. I kind of fade out whenever this one starts, and I'm like, God damn it, it's right at the beginning of the podcast, too.
Yeah, I mostly just wanted to focus on that, like, card symbolism, because that was really cool. Oh, by the way, I should credit where I got that from. There is a person on Reddit with the username Walking the Way who makes these companion guide threads for each episode on the Chihayafuru subreddit. They're, like, insanely in-depth breakdowns of, like, all of the cards that show up in the episodes and their, like, symbolism for each scene. I just thought this was, like, a particularly good example, but if you want to see more, go check out their threads. They're amazing. So yeah,
damn, that's intense.
Yeah, more intense than me. For sure. Unbelievable. All right, let's move on.
Oh, can we we can wake up now? Okay. Okay.
As long as you keep your hands off.
Keep your hands off of Ikuzen, or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
The Z comes before the K, guys. It's not that hard.
Eizouken.
But it sounds better to say it like.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
I don't know. I just, whenever I hear it, I can't. Yeah, I know. Okay, so they have, like, less than a month when this episode starts. The gang has less than a month to finish their project before presenting it to the student council. So they're kind of in crunch mode. It kind of reminds me of when you start a school project of any type, or, like, really just a project in general, and you think, like, oh, we can make it so detailed and amazing. We have all this time.
Yep.
And then as it gets closer and closer, you just realize that you can't do all of the things that you planned, and, like, things just start falling away. Like, well, maybe it won't be like, it won't have a plot. We'll just have a basic concept. Well, maybe it doesn't have to be in color. Maybe,
Yep.
And that's basically what happens here. Like, Sayaka basically says, instead of having a solid plot, we'll just make a concept, and we can build off of it later if we get a budget. Basically, she gets rid of the color, and it's now black and white. She starts to say, like, no, we're going to have CGI. You can't do all this by hand. And, of course, Asakusa hates this and is, like, really angry. Or, I guess, yeah.
Or Tsubame hates it for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just fights her about it constantly. And is like, but these scenes, I want to do these by hand. And it's like, well, but... It sounds a lot like what you hear a lot of animators saying. Like, they always want to push and make things really nice, and in the end, the reality is there's so much stuff to draw that you just can't do that.
Yeah, the reality of being a professional and hitting your deadlines is, like, you're constantly making these kinds of compromises and trying to still create the most impactful product you can. Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked that they went through all this detail, but then at the same time, I was like, bored with it, I guess. Like, can we move on? This is cool. Like, I think this would have been better off as like a 2-hour documentary.
Oh, this whole show, you mean? Yeah.
This whole show, yes. I think I would have loved to watch a 2-hour documentary, but this one, I just keep finding myself like, how many steps or hoops are we going to fucking jump through before we get this damn thing done?
Yeah, there's a lot of like imagination based like side quests in this show. The main plot of the show I find very fun. The side quests, I'm like, this is a distraction. Come back. Like, why are we off on this tangent? Why are you on Mars? Like, what's happening? It's a little frustrating to me. I understand the whole idea is that their imagination is creating this wonderful art, and so we should love it and all of that. I'm just not there with it. I don't know. Like, it's hard for me.
Same here. I want to be on board, but I'm finding it difficult to get on board.
Yeah, I don't know if you were younger, if you were in your teens, if this would appeal to you a lot. Sometimes
I know a lot of people who are not in their teens who like are all in on this show. So I don't think it's necessarily an age thing. It just might be people who are like more interested in the process of animating or just like artist type people who are really engaged by that.
I'm interested in the parts that are about the process. It's not that.
Oh, okay.
It's just that the imagination parts of it where they go, and they usually are about half the show, where they go off and are like, we're imagining this world,
Yeah, but in this episode,
space.
the world is like the episode that they're making. Like, so I don't think it's like off topic.
But it's not reality, and it's just frustrating.
But it is their reality as they're like slaving away for a month over this project trying to create it,
Well, but it's just so fantastical. It's not part of the main plot of what's actually happening. I don't know. It's just frustrating.
I see what you're saying. I get you, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like the main plot, not so much the other half of the show where they're like doing some other random shit. So yeah, after pulling several all-nighters, Eizouken finally has their short film ready. They're excited. I really liked the scenes of them just working really hard and you seeing how tired they were. I'm not sure why that was so satisfying to me. Probably just because we've all been there. Like we've all worked really hard on something and you're so tired and it's 3 or 4 in the morning and you're just laying there bathing in the screen light,
Yeah, and I also like that, like, I feel like this might have not gotten anywhere if it hadn't been for Midori coming in and being like, hey, I added like 10 extra seconds just by doing some directing tricks. Like, I think Sayaka and Tsubame might have been in a gridlock the whole time if it wasn't for the third one. So I like how they all kind of balance each other out and work together.
I do too. I like them all as a group very well. I like Sayaka a lot, probably just because she's the most like reality based.
Yeah.
So they finally get to the student council. I thought the presentation of the student council was interesting. They're just sort of seen as this like badass Like, you can't get past them.
Oh, yeah, they're out to get everybody.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting. There's like an African-American girl on the student council, which was an interesting choice just because you don't see very many just like random side characters in anime.
She may not be American, Kat.
Well, you know what the fuck I'm trying to say. She's
I
black.
do know what you're trying to say.
Yeah. But it was interesting to me because like really usually it's either like a character who is an exchange student or like nothing at all. So it was kind of, I was like, oh, well, that's new and different. I appreciate that, you know.
Yeah, it's nice to see. Yeah.
Let's see what else here. Oh, yeah, the club before them. What was their like? Were they just trying
the
to get like
carbohydrate club or something?
I know. Like, what the fuck was that?
Hey, I just think they were just trying to get ramen on the fucking school menu.
Kind of, yeah. Like ramen with rice. And
they
then
were like, we could save money by just having all carbohydrates and no meat in our school lunches, and people are like rioting against them.
Oh, I know. Like they were so passionate. I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ. But I mean, hey, I get it. Like food is important when you're, in school.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, that was interesting. Kind of a cute little side note there. The student council immediately tries to shut down their club when they come up for it. Like they talk about all the vandalism that's been reported that they've been doing. I thought Sayaka did a great job where she was kind of like, our club room is shitty and run down and terrible. And like, that's why it falls apart so easily.
The teachers gave us like this huge, like, unsafe place to fucking work. So if you want to blame somebody,
blame them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I thought she had a good point. Like if you're gonna say that we did that wrong, like we can say like you gave us this shitty stuff, and in the end we can turn it back on you. That was very smart on her part. What the raccoon thing was really weird. And like unwarranted because they're like, we have reports that you've been keeping like a pet raccoon or something, and I'm just like, what?
They're in like episode 1 when they get the clubhouse, they see a raccoon in like one of the openings.
Who is making these reports?
I know, and I'm just like I mean they're crazy, but like what do you think they're doing in there? Like I don't know. Like that was interesting. But yeah, basically they almost don't want them to see the film. Like, they almost are just like, no, we just miss you. And they finally get them to watch the stupid film. It has a real impact on everyone.
It's really cool how it's, like, affecting them in the real world. There's, like, wind blowing, and there's, like, fucking tank shells dropping on the ground next to him, and that one guy has to do, like, 5 double takes to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was so interesting to me, because I was like, is this, like, a magical realism thing happening, or is it just heightened reality? And it was hard to tell, actually.
I couldn't tell if they had literally made some special effects happen in the audience.
I don't think so, because when would they have had time to do that?
I know, because I kept going back and forth while it was going on between being like, are they blowing wind from somewhere? What's happening? And then being like, I think that they're just trying to be like magical realism, like Bcom was saying. But then I go back and forth being like, but no, like that's a really weird thing. Like, am I sure that they're not blowing like wind into that?
It's like a 4DX movie theater thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was an interesting way to show how much it affected the audience.
It was cool.
And yeah, I mean, to their credit, the student council's like, well, all right, you did something good. Like, here's some fucking funds. Go ahead. So, at least they get recognized for what they do.
I love the part when everybody's like shocked, and then they see the 3 girls up on stage, and they're all just in their own world talking about how they can get even better at editing and just all the things that they can improve.
Improvements.
Like that was great. And one of the people on the student council says like these girls would make this, or they would continue to do this even if we didn't give them funds. So we might as well just give them the damn funds.
Yeah. You really get the sense that the student council is like, all right, we accept you. You're serious about this. We can tell. So.
I also just like that a lot of Sayaka's criticisms throughout the creative process were correct. that, hey, we can make these cutbacks, we can make it look like a manga, we can do all these things as long as it still has the impact that it needs. And in the end, I love that they show the entire film in the episode. And that you see that, hey, this is all impactful. And you see that even like the scene where there's the girls flying towards the screen that they used the automatic in-between interpolator to create looks really great. I mean, if you didn't know it was automatic, like, you wouldn't think twice about it unless you were like really in the know about animation. So it's crazy that they showed us all of that stuff that led into this, and so we can understand where the faults are. And it's just really, it's like a really great education for people who are starting to watch anime or just animation in general.
See, I love that part about it, but I just don't feel like it belongs in an anime. It should be a 2-hour documentary. That's my thing. I'm like bored with it, but I'm still interested at the same time. It's a really weird feeling to explain.
I getcha. Yeah.
Yep. All right. It was a good show. It was a good episode overall. Just, Yeah.
I told Bcom before we started, I was like, I watched episode 5 and I was very meh with it. So
yeah, I'm interested to see that. I haven't seen that episode yet, so
we'll see.
Find out.
Yep.
All right, this week on Id Invaded.
Oh, hell yeah, you got it right. How hard was that?
Oh, fuck you, Leo. I'm going to say
side.
ID invaded until the end of fucking time.
When you're wrong, Kat.
Oh, you know what? You can say what you'd like. I'd say that you can do either interpretation, because you could say
you can't, because it's talking about the subconscious. It's the exact same fucking thing we argued about last week. Your id is your subconscious. It makes fucking
Isn't
perfect
your
sense.
identity part of your consciousness?
It's so stupid to argue over this, because in episode 1, they literally make it clear that it's a pun on both things, and you guys have been arguing about this for weeks now. Let's just drop it. It doesn't matter.
I'm not the one who keeps fucking bringing it up.
I'm just going to point it out every time you say it wrong.
Oh, boy. So, this episode's called Extended, episode 4. The team decides that since Nari Hisago is in solitary confinement after talking that last serial killer into just committing suicide, they're going to give the other serial killer they've captured, the perforator guy, Fukuda, a chance to dive into Idwells, because their whole process has come to a halt, so they have to do something. They have to use somebody. And he had already figured out kind of what they were doing, apparently, because he has a 150 IQ. He's super smart. And so they give him a shot. They call him Anaido when he dives into the well.
He's not a very good detective.
Yeah, he sucked. And I think they were like, maybe it's because he wants to die so badly that he doesn't survive long.
They're like, who would have thought that someone who has no will to live and tried to drill a hole in his skull ends up being a bad detective?
Seems like he doesn't have the right personality profile to do this job. Yeah.
His persona in the well is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We only see him briefly, but it's pretty cool.
Well, it's his persona is like him without his scar and hole in his head.
Yeah.
So he actually looks like a fucking halfway decent human being.
So the episode then focuses for the rest of the time on this girl named Keiko Kikuchi. She's been buried alive, and she's being live streamed out to the internet with thousands of people watching. And the serial killer who they think did this is called the Grave Digger. He's done this with multiple people before, and he just like shows these people. Are you
talking about the monster truck driver?
No.
The Grave Digger? Come on.
This is not a reference I, an East Coaster, I'm going to understand. I'm sorry. I don't know monster truck drivers.
Oh. Well, you at least know who Bigfoot is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Gravedigger's like number 2.
Wait.
Like
no, I know what Bigfoot as like. I don't know Bigfoot, a monster truck driver. No.
Oh.
I know what
nothing about monster trucks.
I don't know a monster truck driver named Bigfoot.
No, it's that driver. It's the name of the fucking monster truck. Never mind.
I don't know what
Somebody's
that is
going to get there.
This is a very niche
You're
thing,
like the
Leo.
big 2, pretty much. Well, at least back when I was younger.
Okay, cool. I'm going to get shit on for not knowing about monster trucks. This is great. I can't wait.
Welcome to the Midwest.
Yeah, right. So they finally get some cognition particles from the scene where Keiko was taken, and they decide, all right, let's release Nari Hisago from solitary and have him dive into the well. And so when he enters as Sakaido, he finds Kaoru as usual, but this time she's been burnt to a crisp. He like looks out the window and sees all these buildings that are on fire beneath him, but they're also like growing in height, and as new floors are being added, like the fire slowly rises. And then this explosion of backdraft kills him.
Like 50 fucking times.
Yeah, he keeps getting killed by it. He like just before he gets killed, he saw this young girl that looks exactly like Keiko, who we find out in a second is Keiko. Like it was like the 10-year-old version of her is like across the way. So he has to try and figure out how to get over to her, basically.
Also, one of the guys brings up the good question. He's like, why did we find particles this time, but none of the other, what was it, 10 or 15 times with the Gravedigger guy? He's like, why? That's really weird.
Yeah, because the Gravedigger has done this like 6 times before or something. This is the 7th crime scene, and this is the only time they found these cognition particles.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he dies so many times in this trying to find her.
It was also interesting that they said like Sakaido doesn't remember any of his previous deaths in the well, basically, but he's still able to make progress somehow just by intuition.
Yeah, that's been since episode 1, which is like just...
It just seems weird to me.
I guess it's supposed to be a sign that he's a good detective.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's like his instincts, but it's kind of weird. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, I can imagine like he doesn't remember it consciously, but maybe like subconsciously he remembers. You know?
Yeah, I feel like there's some residual something in his memory that goes through the next time.
Like in the id? Huh.
Oh, his id is, it's growing.
That'd be
weird. So he finally is able to get over to Keiko, and I don't know, what did you guys think about that rock insert song by Miyavi that played where it's like, we can go like a samurai? I thought it was kind of generic. I didn't really like this song. I saw a lot of people hyping it up, and I was like,
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about until you said the lyric, and I was like, oh yeah, that did happen.
Yeah.
I think I liked it.
Okay, you liked it? I don't know. Like, I just thought it was like so simplistic.
I liked it, but I don't think it exactly fit where it was put in the show, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like Miyavi a lot, so I don't want to shit on it too much, but I was just like, this isn't like one of Miyavi's best songs, I don't think. So yeah, Sakaido starts thinking about like the strangeness of Kairu's death in this well. Like she was burnt into a crisp in a room that was not on fire, so she must have been burnt elsewhere and then brought there to be hidden among the rest. And that's when the people who are outside the well, the Kura guys or whatever, they're like, this must be related to Gilbert Keith Chesterton. And I'm like, who the fuck is that?
You've heard this quote before, though, right?
Yeah, so I looked it up. Yeah, this guy.
Because I didn't know who the author was, but I do know this quote. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've heard the quote, definitely. I just had no idea where it originated. And it's this author, Gilbert Keith Chesterton, who in 1911 wrote a book called The Innocence of Father Brown. Father Brown is this priest/detective who at one point in one of his stories concludes that like the killer he's after hid the body in a hill of corpses. And then the quote that they say in the show is like, where does a wise man hide a leaf? In the forest. But what does he do if there is no forest? He grows a forest to hide it in. So basically they conclude that because of this like indication, the guy who committed this murder is a copycat. He's basically using the Gravedigger as his hill of corpses to hide that he actually committed this crime, and throw people off the case, basically. And when Sakaido gets to Keiko, she points across the way in the ID well. Sorry, damn it, Idwell, to a man named Genpei Ono, who lived in her neighborhood until she was 5 years old. And she apparently saw him like light his house on fire while his family was asleep because he felt he was a failure and he wanted to start over in life. And so the police raid Ono's apartment, and they quickly find that underneath like the rug in the center of his room, there's some stairs and there's a barrel down there. And they're like, oh yeah, we got there just in time because she's still alive on the live stream. And they open the barrel and she's been dead for like multiple days. because the footage is not live.
It's like really sad too because like in the stream she's like, somebody will come for me, and
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
saved.
It's so sad. I'm just like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
And it sucks even more because Nari Hisago is like, oh, I totally saved her. Because when he was like carrying her away from the burning buildings, she was
her
like,
10-year-old self, yeah.
Yeah.
And like he imprinted his own daughter onto her probably a little bit, so that's why he's like, finds out she's dead. He's just like probably sad and pissed and all kinds of shit going through his head at that moment.
Yeah, and one of the Kura guys, Momoki, asked him, do you want to kill Ono now? Like, you've kind of driven these other people to commit suicide? And Narihisaga's like, no, I don't really want to continue killing. Each time I have, it's just been this impulse that's risen up from within me, and I've just acted on it because I couldn't kind of resist. And he kind of says that Momoki's friendship is the only thing tethering him to reason. Yeah, and anyway, when leaving the scene of the crime, Hondo Machi was out there, and she spots this suspicious
Yay,
guy.
she's back.
She's finally back, yeah. This suspicious guy turns out to be Haruka Kazuta, who was like a victim that was in Fukuda's Idwell. And for some reason, at the end of the episode, he just like leans in and kisses Hondo Machi. And I was like, what?
Yeah, same here. I was like, what?
I don't know what that's about.
Let's watch the next episode. I mean, it's just interesting. What's the relationship? How does he know her or anything like that? You know.
Mm-hmm. This show continues to do a pretty decent job of keeping me hooked on like Sakaido's detective work. Like whenever he's trying to figure out what the murder cause was for Kairu in the well, I'm always like trying to guess, and I don't know. It's pretty difficult to guess because they're usually pretty abstract concepts, but I'm never like really annoyed.
Well, even then, the only reason they found out is they got his face, and then they had to run his face through a fucking computer recognition system. That's like something you couldn't do, so you would never come up with that name.
Yeah, basically, exactly. Yeah, I like that it's like a team process that like as good as he is, he can never really figure it out on his own unless he somehow knew the person. But
that's true. Like I do like that it's not just him because it would almost feel like unbelievable if it was just him. It would just feel kind of like magic or something.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Oh boy, you guys ready for some Dorohedoro?
This episode is fucking insane.
It's insane and awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
You want to add anything, Kat?
No, you guys can.
All right, episode 4. Shin is telling In about his encounter with Kaiman. He also tells him that the man inside his mouth had crosses over his eyes, which is the same as Kaiman he has. And it's interesting because it gets a small reaction out of In, but later on he like denies it. Mm-hmm. And also that Nikaido is a sorcerer. In knows a sorcerer by the name Turkey, whose magic should be effective against Kaiman.
Tell us about Turkey.
Turkey literally has a turkey on his head, or his head is a fucking roasted turkey.
Pretty on point, you know?
Yeah, very on point. He demonstrates how he makes his living dolls. Basically, he makes a duck and then puts his magic into it and bakes it, and out comes a clone of, whoever they want it to be. It's pretty funny because Shin's like, because he tells Shin to think of somebody and put his magic into a vial, and he thinks of Noe. And so, like, a naked Noe comes out, and they're like, okay. And then Noe's at the door, like, hey, let me in. And Shin's like, release the magic now! Release the magic now!
He's going to get his ass kicked if she saw that, yeah.
Yeah. But there's also a lot more to these dolls. They have this weird thing where they tend to go, like, where the original is, and they also tend to just same habits, same hobbies, just everything. So they figure if they just follow this man, they will find out where the real person is. So they end up making the doll, and they first follow it to like a cheap clothing store where you get some like clothes that he feels comfortable in, I guess. And this is when In's like, I don't recognize this guy at all, which is interesting because apparently the crosses might mean something else that he knows about. I'll get to that later on because there's more to it. Okay. And then after the cheap clothing store, they go to a very high-end, like, club-exclusive restaurant. And they're like, what the fuck? And they end up asking the waiter if they recognize him. He's like, no, I've been here 30 years. I've never seen this guy once in my life. Mm-hmm. So, like, they even asked the clothing store guy, but he was like, I just started last week. So, like, nobody's ever seen this guy. And there's even more of that. They next get to a part of town that is known for where sorcerers go that like basically suck at their magic. And they end up in a crummy apartment, and Shin and Noi go to the landlord to see if he knows anything. Apparently, he's never even seen the guy who lives in the apartment, and he hasn't seen him in there for a year. So
weird. It's very mysterious.
It's like, how did you collect rent? I don't understand.
Because like at first I was like, maybe he wore a mask like Shin and Noi do or something, but then his landlord's like, no, I've just literally never seen this guy. It's like, okay.
Right. So while those two are gone, Ibisu finds a safe because Fujita and Ibisu have been with it the whole time. And when she finds a safe, the doll suddenly reacts like very violently and basically almost kills the both of them. But Shin and Noi get back and they take care of them and kill the doll. And then the safe contains the head of the doll, and they assume the man is already dead. Man, this is just where shit went off the fucking rails.
Yep.
So, as I'm dubbing the corpse party, Shin, Noi, and Ibisu all go to this party where there are corpses hanging from the ceiling with presents in their hands, and the roof is covered with flies, and they have to put on nose plugs just so they can fucking breathe in there because it stinks so bad. But there's all kinds of food, and Noi and Shin and Noi just gorge themselves on all the food, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And there's also another guy there who's got the crosses over his eyes. So it makes me think this is possibly an organization or something like that.
Could be, yeah.
What's interesting, though, is he recognizes Ibisu and he lures her away with a balloon. I don't know why that was funny. But
I like the way she ran after it. Like, yay! It was pretty cute, yeah.
She keeps having these like cute, funny moments just randomly all the time, which is pretty cool. Apparently, this guy sells a black powder that when a sorcerer takes it, enhances their powers. He ends up giving some to Ibisu, and she just basically goes nuts and kills him. And then, so the way this party works is that there is a person who can revive corpses. And when they revive these corpses hanging from the ceilings, they will give them their gift. And En wants to make this person his partner. And like she comes in and she's got like another guy with her. She like scoops out part of his eyeball and it turns into a demon and crawls back into his eyeball. And then he comes alive and gives her a gift. And it's just like, what the fuck?
All of that was just the weirdest fucking thing ever. And it was so cool. Like, honestly.
Yeah. So those two go back to their room and then she takes off her mask and like she's strung out and she's on the fucking drug and she's like, I need more drug. And then that's when like En like busts in through the window and steals her. And then Shin and Noi come in and they kill that guy with like the coolest fucking sick ass combo I've seen in a long time. Where like I'm sorry. Shin like runs at them with the hammer and then like he spits his acid on his arm, which eats it away to the bone. But then like
so
Noi
cool.
heals it like really quickly. So then he just fucking whacks him in the head with the hammer and it is animated so well.
That whole cut was just disgustingly cool looking. Like, oh my God. I like cheered when I saw that. It was amazing.
Yeah. But then En notices that like this girl has the black powder on her mouth, around her mouth, and just like immediately kills her and like fucking mushrooms are growing out of her eyeballs and face. It's oh God.
Yeah.
It's unsettling.
Yeah, for sure.
And then like when the body falls to the ground, like this like creature comes out of her dress and they end up keeping it as a pet. And apparently that was what had the power to raise the dead.
It's like a little pink like dog thing
with a mask on. It's the dog
so
in the
weird.
It's the dog in the OP.
Yeah, for sure.
And they naming it Kikurage. And then En finds out that Nikaido left for the hole when she was like a child, and they don't even know what kind of magic she has. It's a complete mystery to everybody.
Okay.
And they come to the conclusion that she might be the one behind turning Kaiman into what he is.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So,
I doubt it just because of the way she acts around him, but that'd be interesting if it was her. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I'm doubtful also, but man, there's a slight possibility, maybe. Kaiman and Nikaido take some sorcerer corpses to a doctor's house who specializes in dissecting them. They can't find the doctor at first, and they like wander around the estate the whole time. And like during their wandering, Kaiman asks Nikaido if they ever found the door to the sorcerer's world, would she go with him? And she's just really hesitant, and we know why. They eventually do find the doctor after they're making some like food or something like that. And he's like really young, but it turns out he's 60, and a sorcerer turned him into a kid. And he does nothing but like dissect sorcerers to try to figure out how their powers work and all that stuff. He like talks about like a magic vein or an ash vein, dust vein, something like that. But then he leads them to a door he made out of the bones and skins of sorcerers that connects to their world. It basically made me think of the Necronomicon, but it's a door instead of a book.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the end of that episode as they get ready to go through the door.
So, like, from the first shot of this episode, I was instantly drawn in because, like, the first image you see is in the sorcerer's world where, like, N and all of them are. And it's just this architecture that is, like, so stunningly beautifully drawn that I, like, immediately paused the episode and I was like, all right, I need to go look up who the fuck the art director is on this show. Like, holy crap. Because I hadn't looked at it before. And so his name is Shinji Kimura. And he's worked on background art for, like, My Neighbor Totoro, Blood Blockade Battlefront, Spriggan, which is famous for its background art, Tekkon King Crate, all these crazy works. And it obviously is just continuing that amazing work here. It's just so cool to see. And just everywhere. Like, we've talked about the background arts previously, but, like, damn, gotta shout that out. Also, that, like, distorted mansion at the end of this episode kind of reminded me of that, like, magically distorted house in Demon Slayer that they had to, like, get through with the guy with, like, the drums and everything. But, yeah. I also thought it was kind of weird that the turkey guy makes roast duck. But
why'd you expect roast turkey?
I guess he's not a cannibal, yeah. But, I mean, look, it's, you know, it's a fellow bird. You're going to cook your fellow birds? Come on,
bird
man.
Rivalry?
Yeah, fuck ducks. Turkeys are taking them out.
Okay. Kat, come on, you're the big Junji Ito fan. Do you not get vibes of like that in this show?
I guess.
Like, I do, like, so much. And I don't like Junji Ito.
I guess.
Well, the anime, at least.
It's just... I just never rated it as highly as you guys. I'm trying, though.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say about this show is that, like, it's just not very plot heavy yet. It's, like, sort of slowly unveiling, like, the mysteries about Kaiman and Nikaido, which I think is very interesting, but it's not, like, a very plot-driven show, but damn if it's not gorgeous to look at. Like, holy crap.
I don't care, though.
I
don't know. I'm pretty sucked into the plot and all the mysteries that they keep bringing up.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they're interesting too. I don't know. I guess
if they actually start like exploring them a little, maybe. But
for sure, I hope they will. Yeah, we'll see. All right,
how many episodes? It's only 12 episodes. Man, I feel like this can go on for a while.
Yeah, I hope it gets another season. Actually, like already, I hope that. All right, let's. Too
bad it's on Netflix, so that's what's slowing it down.
It might eventually. You know, Netflix isn't dumb. If it sells well, if people watch it, it might get more.
Yeah, but they'll have to like come back after and like decide, and it'll take time.
It will. Yeah. All right, let's take our break, and we will be back after these messages.
Cool.
Yep.
Hi, I'm JD, your host of the Red Leaf Retrocast, your best location to learn, remember, and relive the past to the present. Our podcast has 4 shows for you to listen to between retro gaming, modern gaming, anime, and even wrestling. The Retro Gaming Cast covers discussion topics, and each episode we discuss retro games picked based on a decided theme for that episode, ranging from space all the way to console specials like the old handheld Game Boy. Our Modern Gaming Cast is monthly and covers video game titles that were released in that previous month. Each anime cast, we focus to review a retro anime each and every episode, like the original Mobile Suit Gundam to the racing hit Initial D. But that's not all. We also keep up with the seasonal shows, by occasionally doing impressions and reviews as well. Finally, our last show is about wrestling, where we keep the rising indie scene up to date while also covering shows from the bigger promotions like Ring of Honor, New Japan, and WWE, so we cover it all. We also cover a retired wrestler every episode in what we call the Wrestler Spotlight, and are currently on a quest covering old WCW Thunder episodes from the late 90s, every cast. So if any one of those casts sound like something you'd like to check out, that's the Red Leaf Retrocast, Gaming, Anime, and Wrestling, found at iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and all your favorite podcasting sites. Also, you can learn, remember, and relive the past to the present. We can't wait to see you soon.
Hey dude, you into anime, manga, and all that radical stuff?
Oh yeah, man, it's tubular.
Then you should totally check out the...
This transmission has been hacked. If you want discussions, debate, reviews, and all in between, you must listen to the Anime Radicals Network at www.animeradicals.com. There's timely reviews, revolutions, mecha, and much more. Find it on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all podcast catchers. The Anime Radicals Network.
The revolution will be simulcast.
Hey, we're back. It's time to talk about animals.
Wait.
What?
I'm just laughing about that for a second. Okay.
Cat walked her dog.
Cat did walk her dog for like 15 minutes, Cat. Oh my god.
I'm sorry. She needed attention.
That's okay. They all do sometimes. It's fine.
Yeah. That's the way it goes.
You know who else needs attention? Wolves. Little stupid wolves. God. Go on, Leo. Tell us about episode 4.
Episode 4 is Seton Academy. Join the pack. I like this show with every episode I watch even more.
I don't understand why. It's so meaningless. It's so vapid.
I had issues with this episode, even though they're minor.
Only comedy show we're covering, and then like I need this fix bad. So, since King has left his throne and cut his mane, there's just been a huge turf war, mainly amongst the carnivores. It's even attracted the attention from the other schools, namely Ranka's older sister, who absolutely adores Ranka. She is the older sister who is just infatuated with her little sister, and yeah, we all know this trope. But anyways, this causes her to barge into the cooking room when she sees Jin basically disrespecting her, just like fucking holding her face down as she's trying to like lick him or something, whatever. And when she barges in, she has like a huge pack of wolves with her, and Ranka's sister is like the size of a fucking bear. Like,
she's huge.
I know.
Like Noi from Dorohedoro. Like, she is massive. I was like, holy shit. So her name is Feral.
That makes sense. I just fucking put that together. God damn it.
You had to hear me actually like say it.
Yeah, I didn't hear you say it out loud. Oh my god.
She is there to try to make Ranka come back home and join her pack. Ranka refuses because she's like, I have my own pack with Jin here, so get with it. Farrell feels like she has no other choice and will have to let Jin join her pack, so Ranka will too. And basically, she just picks Jin up and just like bear hugs him and slowly gets closer to his face with like her tongue out, and you're just like, oh no. And then Ranka's like, stop, he's mine. And what she actually says is like, I'll hate you forever if you do this. And Farrell just like malfunctions, and her wolves just have to like carry her out. She can't just take the thought of being disliked by her little sister.
Mm-hmm.
And then poor King gets told by the Impala that she has to focus on her club and can't see him for a while. He's heartbroken. And she runs.
Did his whole mane fall off when she like?
Yes, his whole mane falls out whenever she
like, what?
And she like runs away blushing because apparently there's like this new recruit in their club, and she doesn't want to be outperformed by her. And then Farrell and her pack get confronted by a hyena that one of the wolves specifically calls male.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for Interspecies Reviewers, I don't think we would have guessed where this is exactly going with.
Yeah, true. But now that we've learned so much, we can never go back.
So Farrell and her pack run off the high when she hears Ranka like greeting Jin as they're walking in. And then like Jin gets surrounded by those lions from that one episode, and they're like, "Hey, you made that giant wolf run away, so now we have to beat you. Then we'll become the alpha males." And then that hyena shows up and saves them. And he/she seems to have their own hyena harem, which was kind of funny. They're standing off to the side, like cheering.
Oh, I
her
know,
on.
like kind of a lesbianish harem. Like,
I guess so.
we
Yeah.
love that you're so boyish.
Yeah, basically. So the hyena is named Yena, which is literally hyena without the H.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Well, but don't hyenas in the wild, like the women run it? So I guess that would make sense.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I'm looking this up to make sure. But I'm pretty sure in the wild, female hyenas run the pack.
Okay.
Interesting. So Yena tells Jen, "You like, don't you feel like a pussy being protected by a female?" Referring to Ranka, but Jen's like, "You're a female," and she's like, "How can you tell?" And she's like, "By your looks." And she's clearly humanoid. So
Yeah,
like,
it's so dumb in this show because like your looks are just like, yeah, you look like a fucking human if you're female. Like, yeah, it's so dumb.
Yeah, okay. Female hyenas are more muscular and more aggressive than their male counterparts. This is because females have 3 times as much testosterone as males.
Weird.
As a
Interesting.
result, spotted hyena societies are matriarchal. Even baby girl cubs rule over the boys.
well, we know their genitals evolved to look like a fake penis.
Well, it's actually just that their clit is so big, it looks like a penis.
That's exactly what I just said.
Well, but it's not a fake penis. It's, I mean, I've actually read up a little bit on hyenas because I think they're kind of cool. So, some of the girls like rape the guys with their clit because it's like so big that they can penetrate them with it.
I was just like, because Bcom, you had a big complaint of how they portrayed the sexes earlier on, but the show's like, oh no, this is 100% why we did it, and no, we are not afraid to admit it. And I was just like,
Yeah, that's true. They're kind of owning it. Yeah.
yep, they're owning it. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Yena shows up at the club room and demands Jin call her a male. He refuses multiple times until it appears she is going to get violent. So, like, Miki's minions, the little snake and mole rats, they're, like, watching, so they run back and report it to her. And as the student counselor present, she says, it's her right to protect all students. And though they want to start an interspecies harem, even though that's what they want to do. And it went exactly where we expected it to. Yena is trying to show Jin her dick, but Jin has to explain to her that even females have a fake one. Turns out Yena just thought she had her mom's face, but was a boy this entire time.
And
She
they're
just
like,
now,
yeah.
she
They're
just
like, how
now,
dumb is this girl? Like,
she just now realized she's a girl.
yeah. Oh
And
my God.
then, like, she goes home, and her dad's like, "I thought this would come one day." And she like has the uniform, and then her brother shows up, who's like a punk hyena, and he's like, "I thought this day would come too, so I became a stylist," and gives her like a cute
my
girl
God.
haircut. Dude, I'm just like, we're learning so much about animals this season. It is
felt like
insane.
this was like weirdly, like part of me just was laughing at this and was like, it's funny. And then part of me was like, is this bad? Is this like transphobic? Like, should I be laughing at this?
That's why I was like, I was sitting at the whole episode with my like hand and like my shin in my hand, like side eyeing this episode. But there was that one line where Ronk is just saying like, no, your thoughts about like gender are so old fashioned, and that kind of framed everything. It's like basically Yena feels like they have to be very like machismo and macho to appear like a man, and Ronk is saying like, no, you just can be whatever you want now these days, like, and still be a man. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't know. Like, so that's kind of what they're trying to get across, but the whole thing, it's so muddled because like of like again with like the human appearance of females and the animal appearance of males, it's just so weird. I don't know. I had other little nitpicks with this episode though. Like I posted a picture down here in my notes of when Ranka and her sister first greet each
I think
other,
you're a little obsessed with this. That's
and
some
they
weird
just
fetish
stick
you
their
got going.
fucking tongues out and go. I'm like, that's not what
Are you-
wolves do.
Are you saying that you really like two sisters making out, Bcom?
No, I'm saying this is not a realistic wolf thing. Like, wolves do... Okay, Leo linked me a video of wolves, like, licking a human girl's, like, mouth and everything. And, like, yeah...
They licked
the
her
tongue-
chin.
No,
Yeah,
the tongue
their
gets
teeth.
in there.
Like, yeah,
The
like,
tongue is like licking the back of the fucking
they will
throat.
lick inside your mouth because that is the thing wolves do. They like lick each other's teeth and stuff, but they don't stick their tongues out to each other and go. They don't do that. That was dumb. The other.
What did they do, Bcom? What did they do?
The other weird thing in this episode.
Can we make an ad and this is the clip? Join us for other crazy nonsense.
That needs to be a drop. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the other weird little thing was how they explain that Ronka's really small while her sister is like humongous.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the Bergman rule, which, okay, the Bergman rule does not apply to this at all. Like the Bergman rule is based on like large populations that like live above a certain latitude, and so they exist in the cold, and so like over time they naturally select themselves to be like bigger. It doesn't just happen because you put a coat on a little wolf and then it doesn't get big. Like that would have a lot more to do with like what it
stretching
eats.
that fact like really far.
Did you really expect this to be factual? Because
Leo told me we would learn facts about animals.
You know that they were going to stretch this shit to the utmost. You knew this. Okay, don't even pretend like you thought it was going to be some real factual thing and we were all going to be learn things and it was going to be educational.
They have done a lot of factual stuff in here that's like pretty obscure.
See, Leo promised me facts. So I get to call it out when it's being stupid.
They give you like one fact and then they bullshit the rest of it. And you have to admit that's been the way this goes.
Yeah, I mean, it has.
Yeah, because sloths die every 5 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Anything else about that episode?
Speaking of somebody who never dies.
Yeah, BOFURI. Episode 4, Defense and Second Event. So, Maple and Sally have made it to level 2 in the game, and they're very excited to play for 2 hours in real time, which apparently is like an entire week in the game.
Yeah,
which is
so
pretty cool.
While you're in the game, does it actually feel like you've been there for a week?
Because I think
so.
so. I think that's the idea.
That would be so fucking revolutionary for like a video game.
Yeah.
System,
I feel like
holy
if they,
shit.
Like this would be beyond video games. Like if they had technology to where when you're in this thing, it feels like 20 hours, but it's only like half that time. You know what I mean? Like that, there would be all kinds of schools and shit in video games, like just so that you could maximize time.
Yeah, we would be in the Matrix.
Yeah,
slightly
like
different version.
people would go to work, and the way they would go to work is like they would go into this cubicle thing that's actually just a video game. Because like if you could get more done, like everything.
Yeah, you get your 8-hour work shift done in like 30 minutes.
Oh no, but you know it wouldn't be that way. It would be like you're still there for 8 hours, but it feels like 16 or something.
Mm-hmm.
That would have some serious mental repercussions.
Yeah,
sure.
You know the way corporations work. You know that's how that would go.
So yeah, their goal is to get like in this new event that they're playing 20 medals between the two of them, so they can get the skills that they want. So Maple suddenly just randomly falls through like the grassy world into this hidden dungeon, which is kind of cool that it's just like hidden in the middle of nowhere. And they found it accidentally. And they fight this court jester looking boss. And Maple uses like her cover move thing that she learned extensively. Because while Sally's like running around and everything, she can actually keep up with Sally by cover moving to her position like repeatedly. So even though she has like no movement speed, she can like get around that with this, which is totally not intended, but it works.
Yeah, and she like gets called out on it. She's like, only you would use this as a fucking movement ability.
Yeah, exactly. So they beat this court jester pretty quick. Like, what's her name? Sally uses the super speed and gets behind her, and then they finish her off with the Hydra, which is still super OP. And they get 2 medals. They then climb up this nearby like snowy mountain, and they meet Kuromu, who's like the big red great shielder dude, and he has a party of people with him, and they're preparing to go into this dungeon, and they're like being all nice. They're like, oh, we don't want to do PvP, we won't fight you guys. And Maple's like, let's let them go first, you know, we'll be really nice to them. And they go into this dungeon, they die within like 10 seconds because the dungeon door reappears, and Maple and Sally are like, what happened? And so they decide to try their luck, and they find themselves faced with this super tough bird boss, like this ice.
It looks
bird.
like that Pokemon. I can't think of its name. It's a legendary bird type.
It's like Anivia or something. I don't know what I'm thinking.
It's an A name.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, look that up. I don't know what it's called.
I can hear people yelling at us what it is right now.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not a Pokemon person, so like, I don't care. But yeah, it fires like these ice shards at them. What's it called?
Articuno.
Oh, Articuno. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I fucking had one. Zapdos and Moltres are the other two.
Mm-hmm. And so it fires these big ice shards at them, and like it's pretty OP. Like it's taking like basically everything Maple has to defend, and she keeps having to use her Devour ability. And like they eventually use this pretty sick combo of like her cover move and then Sally's super speed into a Hydra, but the thing still takes like almost no damage. It freezes the Hydra and destroys it. Just shows you how sick this thing is because it's been killing everything else. This Hydra move, and then Maple's absorbing like the big attacks from the bird, but she's running out of Devour. Sally's like trying to heal her frantically. And so they come up with another combo where Sally uses like a torrent of water, like a vortex that Maple shoots the Hydra into, and it does like all this like extra poison damage. But still, it's just like not enough. And the bird fires this like crazy fucking beam of light that uses like the second to last Devour. And then it like uses this dark energy that looks like Tokugami from like My Hero Academia or something. And like it's just like killing them. And Maple's armor actually breaks. But if you remember from like the first episode when she got this stupid armor, when it breaks, it immediately reforms and is then stronger.
Yeah, that seems such bullshit.
Totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
She's so like the game developers like I mean, I feel bad for them, and I'm like, but why did you think that wasn't going to happen? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It
seems pretty obvious if you give someone armor where, like, every time it breaks, it's stronger. Like, that's a terrible idea. What do you, like...
Yeah, it's pretty insane. And, like, we'll see them, like, complain about it in a little bit. Like, so, yeah, like, Maple takes some big hits, including one that, like, almost knocks her out. And Sally decides to finally get a little tricky, and she uses her Mirage ability to hide both of them. And then Maple sneakily gets off one big Hydra attack that the boss wasn't expecting and finally takes it out. And so Maple got, at the very end, this new skill called Stout Guardian, because she basically covered Sally when she had less than 10% HP. And now she can survive once a day, like a mortal hit with 1 HP, which is why she survived that fight.
And Sally's like, wait, you were at 1 HP? Fuck.
Heal.
Yeah, she's like, well, yeah, I've just been sitting here with 1 HP. What's wrong with that? We're just like, oh.
It's very cute.
Yeah.
And so Maple gets this like big giant feather crafting material, but more importantly, Sally finds these 2 monster eggs hidden up on this ledge of the cave. And the girls each pick an egg and they leave the cave, and they're like, they read the info about the eggs, and it's like, oh, if you warm these up, they'll hatch. And so then we get that scene of the game devs like freaking out because the girls beat this boss, Silverwing is the name, who just was designed to be impossible to beat. It was literally a prank by the developers, and they're like, who the hell beat this? Oh, it's fucking Maple again.
Fucking Maple. God damn it.
She got the
like,
monsters
what can we even
too.
do? I know. Like, everyone do research, see what she can do with the bullshit she just got.
Like trying to get out in front of her, but it's obviously not working.
I don't understand why they always like make the moderators these weird like chibi looking things.
Yeah, it's a weird like representation. I don't really get it either, but it's cool, I guess. I mean,
it's not cool. You know, it's not cool. Come on.
Rather than designing them a whole fucking model like of like a real character, just give them some weird animal chibi form and just get it over with and out of the way. I see why they did it.
Uh-huh.
Remember back to Eizouken, they got time constraints. They got to cut shit back. We can't fucking give these devs human bodies. Just give them fucking chibi bodies and get done with it.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, the girls, they cradle their eggs to, warm them up. Nothing happens yet. Then they find this cliff that Sally like gracefully jumps down with all of her dexterity. And then Maple has a great idea. She casts a poison ball around herself called Venom Capsule and just jumps off this ridiculously high cliff and just like splats at the bottom. But the poison protected her. And of course the poison doesn't hurt her because she's immune. She also randomly got a medal for doing that. Like it was like on the cliff somewhere, apparently.
Yeah.
And so shortly after, the monster eggs hatch and Maple gets like the cutest fucking turtle ever. And she decides to name it Syrup. So they'll be maple syrup together. Oh, it's so cute.
I liked it.
It's not cute.
I thought it was cute.
So
It's too
cute.
much.
I love
It's
it.
so sugary sweet, it makes you vomit.
Cat,
It's the
is
perfect
maple
amount.
syrup too sweet for you?
Oh, I love maple syrup. And Sally gets like a cute little fox, white like little like Japanese style fox, which she names Oboro. And they also each get a ring that bonds them to their monsters, and they take the time to level up their monsters a little bit, and they get a hibernate skill that allows them to sleep inside the ring. We're playing Pokemon, people. It's Pokemon now. And so, yeah, at the very end of the episode, they meet like that samurai girl who's been in like the OP and stuff. So I'm interested to find out
Kasumi.
what she's about. Is that her name? Kasumi? Yeah.
Kasumi, yeah.
And it seems like she wants to fight them, but they don't do anything before the end of the episode. And then, oh yeah, as Leo said, the text messages are back.
The damn fucking speeding text messages that go so quickly, you have to fucking pause it to even try to read the
I couldn't
first word.
read them. It drove me absolutely insane. I was like, well, I'm not going to ever be able to read
You
this.
literally have to go spacebar, spacebar. Spacebar,
Yep,
spacebar.
yep, frame by
spacebar,
frame.
spacebar. Just trying to read those fucking messages. Like, what's the point of doing that?
And it wasn't even that important. It was just like Kuromu saying like, oh, we lost the Silver Wing, and then somebody else being like, well, somebody beat it. And he's like, oh, it must have been Maple. Oh, it's not even that interesting of a thing at the end there. So there's no point in like pausing for it. But yeah, this is another really fun episode of BOFURI. I love the teamwork of the two girls. It's just cool to see them kicking ass and just continuously getting stronger. And I love the turtle and the fox. I can't wait to see what happens with them as they get overpowered as well. It's going to be great.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome sauce.
Oh.
Man.
It's fun week to week, but I feel like this show is kind of like at its core heartless. It like
I
has
think
no
it has
soul.
a little bit of heart. It's not like, it's not like a big fucking thing. I don't know. Yeah.
It's just surface level. It's like entertaining, but it's just surface level.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
You know what does
You're
have a lot of
like,
heart?
I don't want to admit that that's
Well, no,
true.
oh, sorry.
Let's move on.
My bad. I was distracted for a second. No, but like, yeah. No, I think it has heart, but it's a surface level type of thing as well. Yeah. It doesn't have a lot of like depth to it. It's just fun shenanigans in an MMO. And I like it for that, honestly.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's fun. It's just like harder to cover just because there's less like interesting things to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's all right.
All right. Well, what's not interesting is Haikyu to the top.
Oh, fuck you, Leo. It is interesting. You're just a big dummy, is what
This
you are.
episode was I mean, the start of this season at this point now, 4 episodes in, has been a little bit slow. Like,
It is a little slow. Like, this was a slower episode, I will admit.
Like, they're basically just practicing, and then you're getting a little bit of like rivalry / learning from in between players, and that's like all it's been so far.
Well, I think
yeah.
for me, the best part of the episode was when he basically shows that really big giant player who feels like he has no place.
Haya Kuzawa, who I could not find his fucking name. I'm glad
yeah,
somebody
they did
added it.
say it in the episode. I went back and they said it like once or twice, and I was like, oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
who he
like
is.
like
Yeah.
things he can do to be useful and like kind of gives him a pep talk. I liked that part a lot. I thought that was interesting. It's kind of shows, his character as well as just like the idea of the show as not. I mean, it is about competing against people, but also it's about like the competitive spirit and we're all in this together and we're working to be our best and all of this. It was a good It's a good moment, I think.
Well, it's one of my favorite things in sports, actually, is when all-star players come together and put their rivalries aside and, like say for, like, the U.S. basketball team or something, like when they play for, like, the good of the country or, like, the Canadian hockey team or something like that, you know? All these, like, big egos come together and try to make each other better and, like, learn a lot from that. And it's kind of cool when that happens.
So Kei invites Shoyo to practice some blocking with them since after regular practice, so he can do that and actually play with them. And then Tobio gets bothered by Sakusa, who wants to know how Wakatoshi managed to lose in some game I know nothing about. Apparently it happened in season 3. My bad.
That's okay. You haven't seen it yet. But yeah, season 3, that was a pretty hype game. They do flash back to it a little bit, but yeah.
So
I feel like I need to go back and rewatch season 3. Like, all I remember about season 3, isn't that the season where the entire thing is one game?
Like, mostly, yeah. And there's, like, a lot of, like, backstory that happens as they cut away from the game. But, yeah, it's mostly just, like, one match.
I just remember a lot of me watching the TV and screaming at the TV.
Yeah.
And me being like, ah! And, like, having to pause it and, like, pace around the room.
Like,
and
honestly,
then,
Leo, yeah, some of the stuff in season 3 is, like, the hypest shit I have ever seen in a sports show. It's so good.
Yeah. And then I'd be like, I want to push play. I want to see what happens, but I'm freaking out. And I'd have to, like, pace around a second and then push play and then, like, watch a minute of it. And then I'd pause it again and be like, ah! And, like, that. There's a reason it's, like, one of the best sports anime of all time.
Damn. So they also spot the white-haired guy with the weird eyes, and they can tell he is really good, too. His name's Korei Hoshiyuma? Or blah, blah.
Yeah, they haven't, like, said his name in the show yet, but yeah, Korei, yeah.
Yeah, is this his first introduction into the show?
Yeah, I mean, except we saw him, like, an earlier episode, but they didn't focus on him. He was just in the background or whatever.
Right. I'm just speaking specifically this season. Like, he hasn't.
Yeah, he hasn't. From what I remember, no, he's never shown up before.
So back at practice, Shoyo gets a great spike on Kei. Tsutomu goes next and shows off by managing to spike the ball past 3 blockers. And they all thought like he was doing like an inline one or something like that, but he didn't. He tricked them all. Kei is concerned because he was the shortest of the 3 blockers, and he wants to be able to. Oh yeah, there's a cross shot. Yeah, he thought it was like an inline, and then he actually made a cross shot, so that fucked him up.
Oh no, it was actually the opposite of that. Like he like went wide, like he was gonna go cross court, and then he went straight baseline towards Shoyo in the back. That was pretty crazy. Yeah,
yeah, and it's about this point now I just realized it's just them practicing with like a standout moment here and there so far. Tobio becomes concerned when he sees white hair boy Korei jump really fucking high and spike the ball so hard none of them could react, and it also looks like a scene like straight up Devilman Crybaby the way it's animated. It's
got that really fluid animation, like with like a lot of smearing. And so when you mentioned that, I went and looked up this clip on like Sakugaburu, and found that it was done by key animator Takashi Makoda, who recently did a lot of clips of like some of the running scenes in Run with the Wind, but has like going way back has done stuff for like Space Dandy and Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann.
Space Dandy can get really trippy at times.
Hell yeah, yeah. That's like an animator's project for sure. So that was definitely the cut of this episode that stood out the most. So I noticed that too, for sure.
Yeah, Korei asks Tobio why he isn't afraid of him and his skills. Apparently, Korei is a weirdo like a lot of the players. And he's just like, people always underestimate me because I'm short, but I can jump super fucking high. And
yeah,
he also tells Tobio he's just a goody two-shoes on the court by like some other guy. And it like fucking irks him real bad. And there's just too many names in this show.
There's a lot of like people getting introduced.
Constantly looking
there are a lot of
on my anime list like, this is who again? And this other person is who?
He does make a lot of characters, to be fair. It's like, yeah.
There's a lot of teams from a lot of places and different tournaments.
Well, but in real sports, it's that way. Though,
yeah, it is.
To be fair.
And Shuyo continues to be the best ball boy that there ever was. There's also this Akira guy who doesn't really like to move, and it's like driving Kanji nuts. And Shoyo explains that that's just his style, and it becomes more serious in like the second half of the match. And then they start doing some 2v2s for practice. No dinking, only spikes. The 2 meter tall guy, Hayakuzawa, is like really struggling and he's like making tons of mistakes. And he accidentally says out loud to Shoyo that it should have been him instead of he who got invited in there. And Shoyo's just like, no, it should have been the both of us instead. And he also gives him some advice for the next match and he uses like his height to his advantage to like get really, really fucking high when the back line would be undefended and actually stop a ball. And also they slow down the pace real quick. Like he's just trying to play fast, but then they slow it down and that helps out a whole lot.
Yeah. I thought like Kurai's introduction was interesting because he just seems like this mirror universe version of Shoyo where like he's got like the same like stature and everything. He's got the same jumping abilities and all this stuff, but he's like not really a team player. He seems like he wants all the recognition and is kind of going about it in like I wouldn't call it evil, but like an arrogant kind of way. At least the way he talks to Kageyama. But I mean, the reason that Kageyama like looks at him, I feel, is because he's just seeing Hinata. And he's like, oh, but this is like a good version of Hinata. This is what Hinata could be if he was like an all-star. So I can learn with this guy and then bring what I learned back to Hinata and use it with him to win. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why he smiles at him and also why Kurai's a little freaked out by him.
Yeah. It's kind of sad. It's like, no. Part of me's like, don't show him your secrets. Like,
yeah.
You only have so many good things going for you. You're too short.
Yeah. I kind of hardcore identified with the scene where Hinata was talking to Hyakuzawa, the 2 meter tall guy, and saying like, your height is such a huge like advantage because I was like taller than a lot of people when I was in high school. And so like shorter guys would come up to me when I was like complaining about shit, like playing volleyball or something or badminton, and be like, dude, why aren't you better at this? Like, you're so tall. And I'm like, it's not the only thing.
I'm sure that makes you feel better.
Yeah, I know. It was
why
annoying
aren't
at the
you
time.
better at this?
I was like, and then I would complain to them, well, I'm not like literally 3 inches off the ground and I can reach at everything on the floor like you. Man. So we went back and forth. But I identified with that scene a lot. That was fun.
Oh, my goodness. No, I'm just imagining that.
Yeah, good times. Mm-hmm. Height is not everything. There's a lot more than just height, but it does help in a sport like this for sure.
Yeah, I think it's all just about what side of the fence you're on with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the grass is always greener and all that.
Yeah, it was just really good advice that Shoyo gave him to like both use your height and then like slow things down. So like if you can't keep up with the tempo, slow the tempo down. And then your teammate will have an easier time too. And so they do that and succeed, which is cool.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yep.
All right, we've got one more anime to talk about.
Dun-dun-dun.
Do we have some epic music we can play?
Oh my gosh.
I just want to play like the worst music ever here. I don't know.
Just some hentai noises. You can play some hentai noises, like some oh my god, yes, or something like that.
I mean, I think you just played them for us. that was basically hentai noises right there. So you've done it.
I mean, that's not a real hentai noise.
You need to play a little snippet of 9 Inch Nails. I want to fuck you like an animal.
That's a pretty good one.
I can
That
do
is
that.
such a creepy song too. Like even for me, that's a creepy song.
Have you ever seen the music video for that? Because it's awesome. Like
No, I'm actually trying to load it up.
Such a good music video. Holy crap. Anyway.
Just the way he says all that shit is like weird. Cause it could be like hot, but the way he says it is like, and then I'm gonna eat your brain or something. And you're just like, oh.
It's pretty cool. I like that
Is
song.
it cool? Is it cool? I don't know.
It's just like he's trying to like get under people's skin, and he does it well.
Yep.
Anyway, so episode 4 of Interspecies Reviewers. I don't know. It has a really long name. I'm not going to read it all. Basically, there's succubi and shit. So it starts out, and it's like a cute joke. So it's like all of them except Krim are dead, and Krim's like, "No, you can't die here." And like there's kind of a like the end screen and like credits. And I honestly think this is definitely like a joke about them getting taken off so many networks.
I should have gone and tried to check if this was like originally in the manga, but I have to believe this is like a meta joke for the anime.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I have to believe
If it is, that is amazing.
It's a great joke if it is.
It's been too long since I read the manga to know if this is specifically true or not. I don't.
It's definitely a meta joke. Like, come on.
Like,
But
if it is, then I
hilarious.
gotta hand it to the staff of this anime, because like that's my kind of humor. Like for you to get
Yep.
all this shit, to get pulled off Funimation, to get pulled off TV networks, and be like, well, I guess the show is over. Psych! No, it's not.
I was like, yeah, that's really good. That's really good. So, you know, after they do their little meta joke, basically they're all out trying to decide where they're going to go fuck some bitches.
Which
And they're-
version did you finally watch this time? Because we established
There's
that last
not
time
there's not
you
a
may have
censored
watched
version
the
anymore.
censored version.
There-
Oh,
Okay.
is
not
there
a
not?
cen-
Okay, yeah.
No.
'Cause I don't know if the one that airs on like Anime
So you
Lab
saw
is
the
censored.
succubi humping the window, and it's just like juices going.
Yes, I
The
did.
waterfall of Jesus.
Dude, it was at that moment to where in my notes I put this succubi in that orgy or cat's spirit animal. That's all I have in my
I'm not
notes.
that- come on.
No, that wasn't the moment. It was like after that when they were like, "Come in here so we can kill you." Like then I was like, "Oh, this is Cat's. This is Cat's crowd."
Like, can you take it? Are you man enough?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that
All
would be
that
me.
shit.
That
I
would
was like, yes.
not so much the humping the window part, but
So after a couple drinks,
come on.
you might jump over a fence into a pool. Like,
Maybe a tall glass of Fireball.
yeah, there you go.
God, no more Fireball, never again. Okay, I say that now. Anyway, so they run into this place just by chance, and they're like, "Oh wow, this is really cheap. Like it's a succubus place. Interesting."
It's
So-
like back alley too. Like they had to go out of their way to fucking find it.
Yeah, so they're like, what the fuck? So they go in, and it's like, all you can fuck. Like, only, like, the cheapest price like, imaginable. Like, just come in. And it just seems too good, and they're like, what's happening here? And basically, the person running it is just like, all right, I'm gonna put you in this cage, and they're just gonna like fuck the shit out of you until you're just completely done. Like, I'm not taking you out, even if you pee yourself. Like, until it's over, you're stuck in there. You're signing this consent form. We're not liable.
And at this point, I'm with Krim. I'm like, guys, let's go somewhere else.
I know. Krim's like, this is a bad idea, guys. Like, we shouldn't do this. And also, like, the fee is, like, no matter how many people, it's the same fee.
Yeah, jeez.
So that should tell you something. So, like, basically, this really isn't supposed to be for, like, a couple people. This is supposed to be, like, almost like a boss level where you go in with, like, 200 people and try to take them out, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what this is really like. This is like a video game boss fight or something. Like, they were supposed to show up with, like, 200 people, and it's just the 3 of them. So they're already fucked. Like, this is already just
they're
going to end
fucked
terribly.
And Stunk's famous last words: "The first 30 minutes were good. The rest was torture."
yeah, pretty much. So yeah, they're at one point when they're trying to decide if they're really gonna do it, the girl like grinds up on this glass wall and like she's just squirting everywhere. And I'm just like, oh girl, no. Like, it's not a good look, I hate to tell you. And they like buff themselves before they go in, I guess for stamina.
Yeah, some
Stamina,
stamina buffs.
sturdiness.
Yeah.
And this just
Like-
reminded me more of a video game. I'm like, they're just trying to make it seem like a video game level at this point. Like, why is that not a video game, actually? Why is there not?
It's basically very video game like. It's like a status effect
Yeah.
in a video
Well, I mean, that's
game.
just
Yeah.
like basics for Magic. Like, there's buffs and stuff like that. Video games
You
are
know,
not.
really,
So
this whole Interspecies Reviewers, like, you could turn it into a video game.
You could turn it into a really fun like hentai game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just saying. But yeah, so they go in there, they get destroyed. Like, I think they're in there an hour, and then like these 100 pig dudes come. And they're like, we're here for revenge. You destroyed us all last time.
A rematch.
Yeah.
All the girls get like super excited about it.
I
They're
know,
like,
and they're like, oh, yeah, kick these losers out. Like, let's get these dudes. And it's just like, oh, lame. Because they like, were just totally destroyed and then kicked out like trash. Like, and it takes them 3 weeks to recover. And they all give it pretty much zeros.
Yeah, they gave it 0. Stunk gave it a 1. That was it.
Yeah. So, I like that in the second part of this, you get to finally meet the owner of the inn restaurant thing when she tells Krim to like go get these weird lava rocks that she needs, I guess, for like cooking. Yeah,
she has like weird plant tentacles that like she can extend up to Krim's room and talk to her or something. That was weird.
Yeah, she's just like a plant person. I mean, she would be fun to fuck, like with all those plant things.
Mm-hmm. But assuming we'll see that eventually.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, she just talks about them like, oh, those perverts. So I don't know, maybe not. But she's very attractive. But yeah, so she tells them that she wants these like lava rock things so she can help cook. I'm assuming they're really hot. Like literally temperature wise, the rocks are hot. Not have to clarify here. So they go to this like area where all this hot stuff is, so they can get these rocks,
volcanoes and such.
Yeah. And while they're there, there's like these salamander girls all in this town, and they're like, ooh, salamander like themed restaurants. And there's ones that they have for people who are not fire affiliated, that are like just, these cute salamander girls, they cook your food or whatever. They don't go to that one. They go to this femme flesh one that's really only supposed to be for people who have a fire affinity, who can like touch them.
I'm 100% on board with them. I would sit there and sweat my ass off while I cooked meat on her naked body. Because hell yeah. That sounds like my kind of an evening.
I mean, it was interesting. It was interesting. Apparently, the mana is super high from this, so like that's good.
Because she's adding mana to the food as she cooks it.
As it cooks on her, yeah.
I guess.
So. I loved the like pussy steak and the nipple steak. Like
I
put it on
the nipple
her
steak,
pussy.
like it had the nipple indent in the steak as it cooked. Yeah, that was fucking awesome.
But in reality, like that wouldn't happen. Like it's not gonna shape to that. That's silly.
I mean, if it was like sliced thinly enough, no, then it would still like curl up probably. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but it was funny. And then they have like Frankfurter service where they basically stick like a hot dog in her pussy and a hot dog in her mouth and cook it that way.
Now, first of all, when they go into this place, they're like, normal touching is allowed. And I'm like, sticking a hot dog up her vag is normal touching? I don't think about that's not what I would consider normal touching, but apparently in this restaurant. Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness.
Also, like, the show decides to cut away from that to Maidri bathing, because the show is like, we're running up against certain restrictions. So let's cut to Maidri bathing in a lake.
Oh, my gosh. But honestly,
Maidri and the old fucking lady.
As a girl, though, I just kept thinking, like, does this not give her, like, a yeast infection for years?
Yeah, this is... Yeah.
Like, this would be such a problem.
At the temperature she's cooking at, there's no yeast infection surviving.
Yeah, like, the inside of her mouth and her body is really hot, though, so it would, like, just burn everything out, probably.
Yes, I'm just like, but she surely has some sort of... I don't know. Just as a girl watching this cringes me, because, like... Even doing things like chocolate, that's a terrible idea. Like
Cat's
any food play.
I've
gone through this, okay? I've gone through this personally. It's never a good idea. So, like, the idea of with meat, I'm just like, oh, this is disgusting. Oh, no.
Kat just wants to stand up at the end of this episode with, like, some glasses on and, like, a nice pantsuit and, like, a baton and be like, now, kids, don't try this at home. I know this looks like fun, but don't do this.
I mean, basically, I'm like, you don't understand. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, it was interesting though. It's hot as an idea if you don't think about the repercussions. And apparently Krim has heat resistance, so he can fuck her, but the rest of them can't, or they'll literally have their penises cooked like Frankfurters, so they can't fuck her.
Yeah.
I love that idea of like them trying to be like, oh, it hurts. Oh no. So Krim does fuck her. He says she's like barbecue flavored.
Yeah, when he's licking her down there.
Yeah,
and
when
the
he's
juices
eating her
are
pussy.
flowing.
Come
Yeah.
on, Bcom.
But it's like a hole that is like angel, like it's like the doors of heaven have opened and light is like breaking through, and that's what she's looking like.
It just felt to me like he's just fucking literally a piece of meat, which to me is not appealing.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to like lick someone and taste barbecue. Like that's weird. I don't know.
Well, because like when he comes out, they're like, you just smell like meat. So like, I just couldn't imagine just being like, oh yeah, like let me fuck literally this meat. Like I don't know. This is just not. But
It would
okay, I mean, he had
a
fun.
unique experience to say the least. Man.
I just thought, like, this dude's like, yeah, I fucked this piece of meat last night. He's like, oh, that's a degrade. You did like something really degrading. He's like, no, literally. It's just weird. But yeah, overall, I like the episode a lot. It's fun. Like, there's a lot of lewd like scenes affiliated with it, but I think we were talking about this before. This anime is like if a hentai had a plot, like what they do outside of the hentai scenes that are the actual hentai.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like if like the set of a hentai was an anime, cut out the actual hentai scenes, the whole plot of their life, that's the show.
I was like actually surprised they had that scene this episode where like the elf guy Zell like uses magic to defend them from like those like lava golem things that are like trying to attack him.
I did
like,
write like a
yeah.
little thing on it, and I just kind of scrolled past it. Like, I did think it was weird that they had that whole scene in there. It was almost like backdrop or something.
Yeah, like I kind of
but
like that because then it's like
Yeah.
not just like focusing on the hentai stuff. It's like, oh, these characters have like abilities and lives outside of like just fucking everything they see. Like, yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of dramatic and over the top, though. I remember watching it and being like, but they didn't actually tell us like what they're alluding to here.
yeah, true.
Like, but it was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah.
So, yep. I'm assuming there will be an episode with that one guy's dad in it eventually, since they alluded to it.
Oh yeah, maybe yeah. I can see that.
Who's dad?
Bruises or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we'll see. Also, okay, so they went to this succubus joint that's like a cheap succubus place that's really shitty, and they gave it a terrible review. And they literally, in a previous episode, got offered this like very high-class succubus place because he wanted them to like give succubi a good review
Yeah,
to
that's
improve
true.
the political. I just feel like that he's going to be so pissed off. He's like, really? This is what you chose to go to? And also, I wonder if this is going to be a plot point that comes up in a later episode.
Also, like they got exactly what they were told they were gonna get, you know, like, and then they still gave it a bad review, which kind of seems a little disingenuous. It's like it's more about them than it is about the service they got, in my opinion.
Exactly, it's weird. So
yeah. Anyway, Interspecies Reviewers rolls on.
you have to admit, it's entertaining week to week to cover. It's fun.
Oh, it is.
It's fun
For
for
sure.
sure. Yeah, it's fucking nuts. I'm glad the confusion about the censored versus uncensored is cleared up because that was fun
It's
last week.
still not that bad. Like, there's parts of it that are really lewd, like the spraying of the wall. But like, you don't. It's not literally a hentai.
Spraying of the wall. Do you hear yourself?
but you don't literally see it. It's just implied. And like, it's not actually a hentai. Like, I still, even with the uncensored version, I couldn't imagine trying to jack off to this.
Well, where some of
Like-
us are just not as noble as you, Kat.
It's just not, like, you don't.
I was going to say maybe some of us just have a better imagination.
Well, okay, but like, it's not a real porn. I could imagine you thinking about it later and being like, that's hot. But I couldn't imagine you in the moment watching it and being like, oh yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I think even though it's not as like graphic as like straight up hentai, it's a lot more like provocative and like thought provoking
Yes.
than almost all of the hentai you would ever see.
Well, it's because it's more plot driven.
Yeah, but like it has like weirder ideas and like more like weird monster girl stuff than even Monster Musume had in it. Really, like it goes beyond that to this place where it's like really lewd and like really out there, which is pretty fun. And I think a lot of people will enjoy that.
It's like imaginative lewdness too. It's like bending your mind to possibilities that you never even thought of.
Yeah, exactly.
Your like pervious dreams. So, I mean, in
Yeah,
that
like
way,
the
I'll give
salamander
it points.
girls having the meat cooked on them. I was like, well, that's a very interesting idea to me.
Well, yeah, it was
Yeah.
like extending the idea of like eating sushi off a girl in a bar or drinking a shot out of a girl's like belly button in a bar or something, which is things that happen.
Yeah.
But like to eat meat off of like a girl whose the meat is being cooked by her hot body. Yeah, that's a step further, which I wouldn't have thought about because it couldn't have happened. So yeah, very interesting. All right, we gotta get out of here. Are you ready to close this out?
Sure.
Go for
All
it.
right.
Thank you all for listening. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube to get updates on new podcasts and videos. You can also find our podcasts on all the normal feeds, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher. And follow us on Twitter at Nerdom and Other for all of the updates as well. You can also come hang out on our Discord where Chibi Rob will sell you No Man's Sky even if you don't want to buy it.
That's why I bought it today.
I think he got like multiple people to buy that game today, which is hilarious. And yeah, the link for the Discord is in the description if you want to come hang out. And with that, we will see you all again next time.
Bye.
Later.
See ya.